Alrighty, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. My name is Alexis Anderson, and I am the Scholarships Administrator here at the National Society of High School Scholars. Um, Today we have some lovely NSHSS scholarship winners joining us. They have been through this process before. They understand where you're at. If you're a high school junior, senior, and you're beginning the process of applying to college to scholarships, can be pretty daunting, but it doesn't need to be. So hopefully, this will ease some of that stress and you can get some of your questions out with your peers. But before we dive into that, I just kind of want to go over some general NSHSS related scholarship information because we do have a plethora of scholarships ourselves. So NSHSS and its partners collectively award $2.5 million worth of scholarships every single year. That's for high school students and college students of all grade levels, and those programs are from a variety of categories. We have about 30 plus programs every single year, from entrepreneurship to STEM to dance to poetry to like healthcare, pretty much any type of extracurricular or field that you're interested in. We have a scholarship for that specifically. Wherever you are in your journey, whatever you're interested in, I highly encourage you to check it out. Pretty much all of our scholarships are going to fall into the same structure as far as what we're looking for, what the application consists of. So the things that are the same across all of our applications are the letter of recommendation, the essay, the academic resume, the headshot, and the transcript. So what's going to vary from those things is the essay. Those prompts will be different per program depending. We might ask you to describe if it's like a dance scholarship or something, and then you'll upload a video and then you'll write a little description about your piece or maybe your journey as a dancer, things of that nature. But they're all going to be in that 500 to 800 word range. The letters of recommendation can be repeatable across multiple applications. So if you have one or two letters that you want to use pretty generally, you can do that. But if you have a letter for a STEM scholarship that's specific, maybe it's from your chemistry teacher or something, and you have a different letter of rec from your dance teacher, you can also separate those out if you choose to. Our scholarships are dependent on your grad year and your GPA. So pretty much all of our scholarships are for high school students and college students. So if you're a high school freshman, sophomore, it's not too early to start applying. In fact, I actually encourage you to apply as you can. We have some geared towards high school seniors and college freshmen, but we have a plethora that are for all grade levels. So keep looking. We have new opportunities that open all the time. Our scholarships open on a rolling basis throughout the year, pretty much in two major waves, one in the spring and one in the fall. Um, so right now we have a lot that are open that are actually closing in the next few weeks. So if you haven't looked at our website yet, this is a great time to do so. We have a technology scholarship that's open right now, an Earth Day sustainability scholarship that's open. We have a STEM scholarship that's open right now. And a lot of those are geared towards high school seniors since this is kind of graduation season. So if you haven't checked it out, I highly encourage you to. But if you don't see something on the website right now that calls to you, we are going to have some opening up for the next few weeks as well, and those will close in August, September, October, that time period. Those decisions are typically released 6 to 8 weeks after the close date. So if you submit your scholarship super early, congratulations, I'm super proud of you, but we're not going to start going through those essays and going through those applications until about 6 weeks after, or right when that thing closes, and then we'll award it 6 weeks after the fact. So be patient with us. We're a small but mighty team, but we want to give all of the applications the time and energy that they deserve. So it takes us a little bit of time to get through them. The two main distinctions between NSHSS scholarships are the public and the private ones. So a lot of our scholarships are for NSHSS members only, which is a benefit for you all because that means the pool is a lot smaller. They're a little bit less competitive than those public scholarships. But the NSHSS Foundation, which is the 501(c)(3) component of NSHSS, funds a few public scholarships every year that anybody can apply to. So those are coming up they'll open in the next few weeks. The public scholarships will, so keep an eye out for that as well. Tell your friends if they're looking for scholarships or tell them to join because there's a lot more options for our members. Okay, enough from me. Let's get into our lovely panelists. They know a lot more about some of this stuff than I do. So first, we've got Anna Westenhofer. She's the recipient of the James W. Lewis High School Global Leader Scholarship 2025. She's a senior at Hazel Green High School in Alabama, and she serves as the Alabama Technology Student Association president, making her the highest ranked high school student leader in engineering in the state. In this role, she has spoken to thousands of students, co-hosted the Alabama Joint Leadership Development Conference, and leads initiatives that support engineering and career technical education statewide. Anna is active in 22 organizations and holds leadership roles in 10 of those, demonstrating exceptional commitment and drive. She's also a published award-winning author and an emerging biomedical researcher. Through Stanford University's bioengineering research program, she contributed to a team developing an mRNA-based diagnostic patch designed to improve epilepsy detection in resource-limited regions. Her achievements include being named the 2026 Inspirit AI Stanford MIT Scholar, founding Zest Soap Company at age 13, and competing in robotics for 10 years, including 9 as the team captain. She plans to launch a biomedical engineering firm focused on congenital diseases. Welcome, Anna. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yes, ma'am. Thank
Um,
you.
let's yeah. Next, we have Danielle Lau. She is the recipient of the NSHSS Nobel Academic Excellence Scholarship 2024. She's a first-year environmental science student at the University of Guelph with a passion for climate leadership and environmental policy. She founded and led her high school's environmental council, where she organized sustainability initiatives and helped her high school achieve Eco School's gold status twice in a row. Danielle is passionate about environmental action, hopes to pursue a career shaping climate and sustainability policy. Welcome, Danielle. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. And then finally, we've got Zach Hartman. He is the recipient of 2 NSHSS scholarships, the NSHSS Good Earth Sustainability Scholarship 2024, as well as the 18 Under 18 Award 2025. Zach is a youth environmental leader and the co-founder of the nonprofit Eco Brothers, where he leads projects focused on sustainability, reuse, and community service. Over the past 9 years, his initiatives have redistributed more than 30,000 books, upcycled thousands of items for animal shelters, and kept over 125,000 pounds of reusable materials out of landfills. He's an Eagle Scout, a recipient of the Congressional Award Silver Medal, and has been recognized by the National Society of High School Scholars with the Good Earth Sustainability Scholarship and the 18 Under 18 Scholarship. Through his work with Zach's Planet and Eco Brothers, he continues to inspire students across the country to take action for their communities and the environment. Welcome, Zach. Thank you guys all so much for coming. I really, really appreciate it, and I know your peers do as well. So now we can kind of get into the meat of it. So I think the first thing that I like to ask all of these students, so clearly all of these are very accomplished, very smart, very impressive students. We see a lot of applications from students just like you guys all the time. So I think the number one thing that I would want to know is how do you stand out amongst the crowd? What did you include in your application that you think added a little bit of personality that, really drew the reader's attention? And do you want to start?
Absolutely, I'd love to. So, I definitely think that it's important when writing a scholarship essay to be very, very genuine and very yourself. So, when
Self.
you're writing an essay, don't be too. Sorry, ma'am, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Don't be too dependent on your accomplishments. Definitely try to highlight why it is you're doing what it is you're doing as opposed to what it is you're focusing on. For example, I did a lot of outreach with Alabama TSA. I'm honored to be the state president this year. Um, Instead of focusing on the amount of students that I've helped and what it is specifically that I've done, it definitely helps a little bit more to tie back in why it is you're doing what you're doing. And I talked about why I love science. I definitely think that helped me. So that's my piece of advice.
Incredible. Zach, do you want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, standing out is fairly easy with just being yourself, and promoting your own personal qualities makes you stand out more. And it's always about being like specific to yourself, sharing things about yourself that kind of you think will make you stand out. And eventually, the like people will see those details or even those specifics and just kind of analyze them. And it's always nice to be able to share things about like yourself and things you've done with your school or clubs you're a part of. Things like extracurriculars can help you stand out as well. It's like it's sharing all about you.
Yeah, I tell students all the time that a key part of a scholarship application is doing something beyond just including your resume. Your scholarship essay specifically is a very unique part of your application where you get to actually express yourself and give the reader some type of something that's not on your resume. So I think including anecdotes or anything about, what you learned in your personality, that's a really good strategy as well. Danielle, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, of course. For me, I think what made my application stand out was, your passion for things. For me, it was my passion for the environment and how that led to, my environmental leadership and school community involvement, just like Zach and Anna talked about. Um, and also definitely, you know, writing about how the situation and how you noticed, certain things that were missing. Like, for example, in my school, I noticed that, my school was missing environmental awareness towards, the students. So I decided to establish an environmental council from scratch to promote environmental initiatives. And by talking about that, like other than your grades, it really helps you stand out in your scholarship.
To sum it up, I like to tell students that it's not the what, it's the why. So what you did is amazing, but why? Like why are you interested in that? Why does it matter to you? What's the outcome? What are you looking for to get out of it? What was the hard part? What was the inspiring part? All of those things I think are really the distinction between a good essay and a great essay. So that's my 2 cents personally as a reviewer. Okay, so arguably, scholarship essays are probably the most important part of your application, I would say, or at least the hardest part for students to tackle. I think they're a little intimidating, and I think that they're also the reason why a lot of students don't apply to scholarships is because the essay scares them off. So do you guys have any tips on how to approach writing a scholarship essay? Like, how do you start? How are you brainstorming it? Whoever wants to start, feel free. Go for it, Danielle.
So I use the STAR method. The acronym stands for situation, then your task, action, and then your result. So your situation means that you should describe your scenario, including when or where it took place. And then for task, define the challenge or goal that you need to address. For example, for me, it was noticing gaps and noticing, the lack of environmental awareness in my school. Then you want to talk about your action, like what you did, the steps you took to, you know, achieve and bring that environmental awareness towards your school. That's for me. And then lastly, talk about your result. What came out of that? What were your achievements? What did you learn from it? And I think that for me is how I wrote my scholarship.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Zach or Anna. Do you guys have anything you want to add?
I can agree with that, yeah, especially because when you're writing a scholarship application, for me, I focused on like my service journey and things that I've done over the past 7 years, and that helped me bring a lot of things up to talk about. But it's more about like finding what you're passionate about and just writing it down because everybody wants to know about you since everybody else is like different. Nobody is the same, so being able to share details about yourself is what like kind of makes it important, especially for your essay. Titling things that you're compassionate about will help people see like what you're doing. And especially with NSHSS, they offer so many different opportunities for scholarships. Like you said in the beginning, it's super helpful to be able to find one thing that fits you and just share about it. Especially if you're compassionate about it, you should have a lot to write.
Amazing. That sounds great. Anna, anything from you?
Yes, so I definitely think it's very important to get into the mindset of when you're writing a scholarship essay, you have everything to gain and nothing to lose. Just be yourself, be completely authentic, be honest, and showcase your personality. Make sure that when you're writing your essay, we have obviously lots of options with NSHSS, but apply to scholarships that fit you. Don't try to fit yourself to scholarships. And when you do that, you naturally have more to say, you're more excited about what you're talking about, and your application is more tailored to the scholarship already. I definitely think getting into a positive mindset and just being yourself is honestly the best thing you can do to write an effective scholarship essay.
Totally agree. I like to also tell students that a scholarship essay should be a balance between your experience and your personality. Of course, you want to, mention the things that you're doing, but like I said before, it's really more about how it affected you and like the human part of your story. I think the most successful essays are the ones that marry those two things effectively. Um, Also, don't be afraid to be creative with it. Sometimes students start their essays with a story, like, a personal anecdote, and then they go into the details about something else. You can do a little bit of storytelling. I mean, still be professional and academic and all of the things, but don't be afraid to get a little bit creative. I think that um, making yourself stand out in that way showcases your dedication to the application number one, because you obviously took the time to do something a little outside of the box. And sometimes it gives you a little bit more room to have some more personality in your essay. So kind of finding the balance between, sharing your experiences and what's important and why it matters. And then also, the pieces of who you are and where you fit into that story. So I think that's my advice. The second most important part, they might even be equally as important to me personally, are the letters of recommendation. Do you guys have any tips for asking for a letter? Who did you ask? How did you ask them? Did you give them any materials ahead of time to help you? What was your strategy with letters of recommendation? Anna, do you want to go first?
Of course. When asking for letters of recommendation, it's very, very important that you think of someone who's been around long enough to really see you grow as a person. Because the most effective letters of recommendation often don't really reflect your resume qualities as much. They reflect who you are as a person and how you've grown. So I definitely recommend talking to people you've known throughout your entire high school career. Maybe you've done one club consistently, maybe you're very involved, maybe you volunteered with one organization. The consistency and the personal growth, ask someone who can write you a very, very good and strong summary of what it is you've done to change as a person. Because anyone could talk about their resume, but not everyone has the ability to demonstrate growth.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Zach or Danielle?
I 100% agree with that. When you apply for a recommendations letter, it's always good to ask a couple people, especially people that know you very well, because in the end, you want somebody to write something good about you. And if you know that people have seen you with your best leadership qualities, or just in general with your best qualities, you feel more confident that they're going to write something about you that you truly understand. That, and it's always good to be able to trust people with your recommendation letters. Um, it's definitely important because when you're applying to things, like she said, it's not just about your resume. So that's not the only thing they're gonna look at. And a lot of times somebody can have a bad day or something and it doesn't really reflect their resume. So being able to just share about like yourself, and having other people share about you and who you actually are is definitely important.
Yeah, I also agree with that. I personally asked teachers and people who I've worked really closely also throughout high school, people who knew me really well academically and my involvement outside of my academics, such as, my principal that I worked with really closely and my environmental council moderator I worked really closely. So those people have seen me grow throughout high school and seen my potential and all the things that I've done in school, and they know me personally and my personality and all the great things that you want on your recommendation letter.
Absolutely, you guys all hit the nail on the head. Another piece of advice that I like to give students with their recommendation letter is to provide some sort of a CV or maybe a personal statement or something like that for your recommender. Just to have on hand to kind of get a full picture, because maybe, you're super involved in one club with them, but they don't really know everything else that you're also doing. It's good to have somebody that can kind of vouch for you as a human. Obviously the things that you're doing in school are super important, but like all of these students are saying, it's also about who you are outside of school, who you are as a human being, who you are as a friend, as a peer, as a student, all of those things. Um, I get the question sometimes from students if the caliber of the person giving the recommendation is more important or if it's the content. And I will say the content every time. I personally would rather read a recommendation letter from your Girl Scout troop leader than that is thoughtful and, really all-encompassing. And they clearly know you as a person. They've worked with you. They know your leadership skills. They've seen you grow, all of the things, than a letter from the mayor where they don't really have much to say because they don't know you super well. Like the name might be super flashy and important, but I don't think it holds the same weight. So definitely ask somebody that you have a relationship with over somebody that you think the title would be more impressive than somebody else, perhaps. Just something to keep in mind. Zach, you want to add something to that?
Yeah, so definitely. Because when I was doing stuff for my Eagle Scout project, and as well as asking for recommendations for Scout of the Year and things like that, I went to my Scoutmaster because I've been involved with scouting for like over 10 years now. He knows me really, really well, so to be able to get a recommendation letter from him means a lot more than having somebody else write it.
Totally. I don't know if I mentioned this at the beginning, but audience, you guys are also welcome to drop things in the Q&A. We're going to get to those at the end. So if anything comes to mind that you want to ask, please feel free to put it in there. We'll get to as many as we can. Danielle, you want to add something else?
Yeah, I also want to say it's really important to give who you're asking enough time to write it. Obviously, you don't want to just ask them to do it in like 2 days. Give them at least like 2 to 3 weeks. Make sure you're like respectful of their time as well because they're uh putting time to do something for you.
Yeah, our general advice is to give at least 3 weeks notice, but honestly, the more time, the better, especially if you're asking them to write recommendation letters for multiple things, multiple schools. Maybe you're asking for a rec for a scholarship or for a university or for, some other kind of award or something. They might need to tweak them a little bit depending on what it is. So I think as much time as you can give them, the better. Um, so since we're talking about, you know, the balance between your academics and your extracurriculars, how do you think that the extracurriculars and your leadership activities and all of those things played into your application? How did you leverage them? What did you choose to highlight? What did you maybe skip over? Anything come to mind for anybody?
Um, Definitely extracurriculars, things like that. They're big resume builders, so I mean, it's also easier to make connections through extracurriculars. Dang, extracurriculars. So when you're doing things like that, you're able to meet new people, and you're definitely able to expand your network. And with that, you can gain new friends, other people's like leaders who can help give you like letters of recommendation and things like that. And it's definitely nice to be able to have people like many options for recommendation letters. So
Awesome. Anybody else? How you tied in your extracurriculars to your stuff?
Yeah, for me, I focused, like I said before, I focused a lot on my environmental initiatives. I talked a lot about how I um, was able to work with the local church to repurpose milk bag, m milk bags, yeah, to make mats out of them. So lots of that, and then we also did a lot of paper reduction initiatives where we offered an alternative to instead of producing, 500 papers per club to promote their initiative, promote their events. Instead, we made like a centralized bulletin board for them to all put one copy instead of 500 all over the school. Um, and although I had many other, extracurriculars that I did, like I was in competitive dance, I had a lot of jobs. I tailored it more towards the prompt of what the scholarship was asking me for. It was asking me for leadership, and it was also asking me how I'll use what I'm doing today to change or make society a better place. And so I thought that my environmental initiatives and environmental campaigns I was running was more tailored to the scholarship. So instead of talking about my competitive dance results, I focused it more on that.
100%. That's great advice. I always try to tell students that you would rather be super involved and take something as far as you can than have your foot in a million places as far as like what you're showing to an applicant, like, or to an essay, like if you whatever you're putting in your application, it's better to, like you said, tailor it to the application and what they're actually asking for. You don't necessarily need to mention everything you've ever done, every class you've ever taken, kind of give a laundry list of all the things that you're involved in because, we can see that on your resume. Like I said, the essay is a really unique place where you get to make those connections. So I think leveraging the things that you're doing in response to what the prompt is asking is super important. And do you have anything else you want to include in that?
Yes, I was just going to say what really, really helped me in tying back my extracurriculars to my application and individual essays I was writing. I recommend, especially to the rising seniors out there, apply to your big scholarships first, like Coca-Cola Scholars, your big national scholarships. Apply to those first because most of them require you to learn how to make a proper academic resume. And in that process, what I do when I apply to scholarships, including the one I was lucky to win from NSHSS, I just looked across my academic resume and pulled and talked about the extracurriculars that are the most relevant to the prompt. So, kind of coming off of what Danielle was saying, it's completely, completely accurate. You have to tailor what it is you're mentioning in your essay to the essay prompt itself. And it's so much easier to do that if you have a clear, organized list of what it is you've done, the most significant contributions to each organization and club, and you can effectively write the best and clearest essay that way.
Incredible advice. Thank you guys so much. So since you guys are all obviously powerhouse students, you're super involved, you're brilliant, all of the things, what would you tell one of your peers who maybe doesn't think that they're qualified to win a scholarship and so they just don't apply? What would you tell one of your friends who maybe was a little nervous about it? Whoever wants to
I tell
start.
my friends this all the time. You have nothing to lose when you apply to a scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you spend an hour of your day applying to a scholarship and you don't win it, hey, you bettered yourself and your chances to apply to another one. You've lost absolutely nothing. Be a go-getter and just try your best. You have nothing to lose.
I agree.
Incredible
I
advice.
sorry. Um,
No, go ahead.
I completely agree with that. It's all about gaining an experience. So, and with scholarships anyway, it's like just try. There's nothing you can lose there. So, gaining experience is all you can get from it. And if you do win, that's great. Like you get something out of it, and you get more experience for your next one. So,
Yeah, same with what Zach and Anna were saying. I'd say just go for it because everyone thinks that everyone has more experiences. But, if you don't try, you may not get it, but if you do try, you have a chance to get it. And there are so many scholarships every year that don't go to anyone because no one applies for it. See, if there's a scholarship saying, oh, five people can get this, and you're the only one of the only five people who apply, you're just gonna automatically get it because there's no one else applying. So I say just go for it because everyone is thinking the same thing. Even for me, I did not think I was gonna get the scholarship that I applied for because it said Noble Academic Excellence. I averaged, low 90s throughout my high school, and I was thinking that there's so many other people who get higher academic averages than me, but it's not, they're not just judging your application based off of, you know, your academic excellence. They're also looking for what other experiences you've had, and that's what makes you stand out from everyone else who just has their grades. And for me, it was, my experience and passion for the environment.
100% completely agree with everything you guys are saying. I also tell students that, like you said, you never know what your competition is. You could be the strongest applicant. You have no idea. For our scholarships, sometimes we get hundreds and hundreds of applications, sometimes we get 15. It really just depends on the year, on the program, on the time of year, what's going on in the world, what students are interested at a certain time period. It varies so much, and you never really know. So you might be the strongest one. And also, it can come down to the way that you present your experiences. Every single student has something to write about, whether you have a part-time job and you're working at McDonald's or, you work for the president or something. Like there are valuable experiences in all of those things. If you're working part-time somewhere, you're learning leadership, you're learning conflict resolution, you're learning time management, you're learning, how to interact with people of different walks of life. There are so many things that you can learn just from living your everyday life, and those are things that are valuable that you can write about. So I don't think that there's such thing as an unqualified student, personally. Um, I think every student has something to bring to the table and to write about. And and like these students have been saying, if nothing else, it's practice. And it does come with practice, being able to pitch yourself that way. And it's going to be something that you have to do for the rest of your career, for your lives, be able to talk about yourself, about your experiences. And the more that you do it, the better that you get at it, the better your chances are going to be the next time. So there's really nothing to lose and everything to gain, like Anna said. Okay, I get this question all the time from students, so I'm going to ask it to you guys. Where are you looking for your scholarships? Where are you finding these opportunities? Is there a search engine? Do you ask your teachers? Where are you finding these things? Whoever wants to start.
Honestly, in my opinion, this is a good time where AI comes in use because right now we're in that era. We have a lot of access to AI and it's not just for schoolwork. So being able to apply that to things like scholarships, it scours the internet. It's literally helping you find everything you need. So being able to look for what scholarships apply to you, giving it your information, like talking about what you're currently doing in school and things like that, and it will give you good options for what to apply to. That and looking through NSHSS, they have a lot of opportunities as well for things that you could be compassionate about. And on top of that, like Anna said, big scholarships too, or like the ones that you know about, they're really good to apply to. And especially if you're in Florida, which I am, the Bright Futures is like, that's really, really helpful. So,
So true. It's probably a great place to utilize AI. It's becoming obviously more and more widespread, so might as well use it to your advantage while you have the resource. Anybody else want to chime in?
Sure, I'd love to. So, when I was initially looking for scholarships to apply for, and I started way too late, I recommend anyone out there who is just beginning their high school career start when you're younger because, again, you have nothing to lose and everything to gain. If you submit a few bad scholarship applications, you're not losing anything and you're gaining a chance to win some scholarship money. But I typically started using FastWeb, Scholarship USA, some of the smaller bold.org scholarship organizations, but then tapped into my institutional resources like National Society of High School Scholars. I was already a member of that club. Like First Robotics, I was already in robotics. And you'd be surprised how many clubs you're already in that offer independent scholarships and how many of the sponsors for those clubs also offer scholarships in your community. So I would say go down on the back of your club's t-shirt for the past 3 years and look at the business names on the back of the t-shirt. Start cold emailing and asking, hey, are you looking to sponsor a student for college? Will you give me an opportunity? Because that's where the money lies that no one claims.
100%. Danielle, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I want to say, if you're in high school, if you ask your guidance counselor, I'm sure they'll have like a list of scholarships they're able to offer, not just from the school, but they have like a bunch of resources from like scholarships all over. I guess for me it was Canada, because I'm from Canada, but I'm sure you guys would have, US scholarships. I also we also had Scholar Tree, which is but a scholarship website, and there's a bunch of different scholarship websites you can look for or you can find on the internet. And yeah, also like what Zach was saying, you can ask AI as well to give you that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage you to look at the local scholarships in your communities. A lot of like municipal governments or school districts or, small things like Anna was saying, the businesses in your towns, they have money that they're looking to give away and they have nobody to give it to. So ask the questions, and the worst thing that they could say is no. Your teachers might have access to some scholarship applications or know of something. Just ask for help as much as you can. The worst thing that they could say is no. Or you might find a scholarship where you're the only applicant. They also have scholarships for all kinds of random things. They have scholarships for people that are left-handed, for women that are above 5'10", like all kinds of stuff. Like anything that describes you as a person, whether it's your personality, your ethnicity, whatever it may be, there's probably a program out there for you. So just keep looking. Ask AI, maybe, like Zach said. Um, but there's millions of dollars worth of scholarship that goes unclaimed every single year just because students aren't utilizing the resources. So don't let that be you. And take that money. It's out there. I'm gonna grab one from the Q&A. Um, Essentially, this student is asking if it's better to be involved in more clubs or super involved in one thing. So, how do you spread yourself through your extracurriculars? Do you pick up the leadership role in one thing? Do you join a bunch of different things and do a little bit here and there? What's your strategy for getting involved in your extracurriculars? Anybody? Zach, you want to go ahead?
I'm a junior, so I feel like I could probably answer this. But it's like when you're in clubs and things like that, you're able to talk to a lot of people, and especially if you're meeting new people as well. If you're a member in one of your clubs and you're just involved in one or the other, maybe get more involved in that club. Maybe put some more time into it and talk to others, and even like the leaders of the clubs, you're able to ask them what they've been doing or what scholarships they've applied to, or seniors that are about to graduate as well. Talk to them about college. Talk to them about what they're gonna do, what scholarships they're planning on applying to, and things like that. Because it's a lot more helpful to talk to people that have been in that shoe already rather than people that are going to be in there. And I can't say a ton because I'm not exactly at that spot yet where I'm applying to colleges and actually utilizing those scholarships, but still things like that where people are getting closer to that area. It's like they know a lot, so it's definitely better to go to people with good experience. That and doing your own research, I highly encourage that because it's so easy to find stuff online now. And when you're looking for things like that, people will take a lot of kind of like they won't take things for granted now, especially. So when you have lower resources or if you aren't that involved, it's easier to get more involved or even do your own research and get more involved online. That things like starting a LinkedIn, that's especially helpful.
Great advice. Anybody else?
Just to tag on to what Zach was saying, there's something to be said for making your own opportunities. I definitely think that if you're interested in something, go after it. Don't necessarily tailor what you're doing to gaining a leadership role. Let the leadership role come with your passion and experience. So, for example, I'm going to use myself as an example. I love robotics, I've done it forever. But as time went on, there were other interests I had, like making soap, which turned into a soap business, and other little niche projects that became something else I was really involved in. I would say let your passion and interests guide you because in the end, the scholarships that you'll apply for will be more tailored to your major, and ideally you're majoring in something that you love anyway. So just go after your own interests and the leadership itself will follow. I would say if you don't have an opportunity that perfectly fits you, feel free to create it. There are so many clubs you can start chapters of, groups by yourself, and inherently you're making yourself your own opportunity and stepping into a new leadership role. There's no max on how many chapters you can start of clubs, by the way, guys. Go crazy. That'd be my advice.
Great advice. Danielle, anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with both what Anna and Zach were saying. I think in my experience, it doesn't really matter like, how many you choose to involve yourself in, as long as you have that passion and that drive to do what you want to do. And like, even if it's just one club or one thing you want to pursue. And like for me, I did gain a scholarship from just being involved in one environmental council. I ran it for 3 years, and yeah, so it's just whatever you're passionate about, just go for it. And I think it's honestly sufficient for scholarships. And if you're interested in more, go ahead and pursue those other ones as well, just like Anna said.
Exactly. I'm going to tie this into another question in the Q&A about if being involved in two clubs is enough to stand out in terms of academics and extracurriculars. I think the answer, it really depends on what you're doing and how far you're taking it. I think that scholarship reviewers, university reviewers, all of the things when you are going to apply for a job, any kind of application interview type of thing, they're looking for people that make their own opportunities, like Anna said, that, take anything that they're doing the extra step. So if you're in one club and you're super involved and you've made a difference, maybe, there's 50 members now and you started with five, but you went out in your community and you tried to get more members and you spread the word and you were super super involved and you did something to change what you were doing. I think that if that's the only thing that you're doing and you're as involved as you possibly can be in one thing, then that's totally fine. If you're involved in 100 things and you don't really do any of them, you just attend the club meetings and you're not actually active, then that really doesn't mean anything. So it really just depends. If you're involved in a bunch of things and you spread yourself, through all those things, and that's awesome too. It really just depends on, what you choose to make of those opportunities. Zach, can go ahead.
I was literally about to say that too. It's way better to be involved in, like, super involved in two things than to be a part of 100 things. Because if you're just a part of things, people don't see what you're doing. And it's better to be able to kind of maximize that work. So,
Yeah,
100%.
also in my experience, I was in grade 9 and 10. I mean, yeah, in my lower years in high school, I tried to be involved in every club in my school. I was like a part of like, 9 or 10, but then I realized that I had a passion for one thing. So I ended up dropping all those clubs to fully put myself and get the most out of one club. And through that one, I made the most difference instead of just being like a little member in each of those 10 clubs.
Yeah, and I think there's something to be said about, when you're a freshman, sophomore in high school and you're figuring out what you like and you join a bunch of stuff and you're trying things out, that's also awesome when people are, exploring, they're willing to try new things to challenge themselves. But the more that you learn about yourself and what you're interested in and you kind of hone in on those areas, you'll also have more to write about in your essay because you'll learn more, you'll be more connected to the content. You have maybe a little bit more direction. So I think that there's pros and cons to both. There's no wrong way to do it as long as you're getting something meaningful out of it. If you're getting something meaningful out of all clubs that you're in and you can write about it, then that's incredible. But if you are a part of all these things and you don't have anything to show for it, I think that that is not as good of use of your time as finding one or two things that you really enjoy and you put everything into that. That's my advice personally. Okay. How you guys, obviously, you're super accomplished, like we said. How are you balancing all of these things that you're doing? There's only so many hours in a day. School's super rigorous. Some of you guys are in university, applying to universities. How are you finding the time to apply for scholarship essays, do your extracurriculars, and do your schoolwork? And maybe you have a part-time job, maybe you're in sports, all the other things that you're doing. Do you have a spreadsheet? How do you prioritize?
I would
is
love to answer. Oh, I'm so sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead, Zach.
you're good. You definitely have more to say than me because all I was going to talk about is literally just like planning it out. It's like it's good to have a planner and things like that where you can keep everything organized so that way you know what you're doing for the week.
Very, very important. I'm so sorry, Zach. I did not mean to interrupt you. I have been dying to talk about the way that I organize scholarships. I'm so proud. I have a master spreadsheet, like a Google spreadsheet, that every single day I go down and try to take off one scholarship from the list at minimum. I definitely recommend this method. It is so convenient. It works so well for me. I tell all my friends to do it. It works great. I usually put the summary or the amount of money being received, what I should focus on, the actual name of the scholarship, and then a link to whether or not I've completed it and the website. And by doing this, I can automatically give myself a visual. I also have I categorize them by STEM related. I'm in a lot of STEM clubs. So have them categorized by leadership, by STEM, by personality, by random traits like the Redhead Scholarship, like you were mentioning earlier, Miss Anderson. And by doing that, I have basically tailored essays that I can reuse and fix a little bit towards every scholarship. And by doing that, it takes me maybe 5, 10 minutes a day to apply to a scholarship versus an hour and a half. So it's a very, very effective method. I recommend it to everyone just trying to get their foot in the door and start applying to scholarships.
Yeah. Um, sorry. In high school, I had a really similar method as Anna. I did have like a it was a website that was able to track all my scholarships. So I had a goal of, applying to maybe not as much as Anna, but mine was like one a month or two, it was like two a month. I had to take off two scholarships per month. And on and it was also easy for me once I wrote my first, two, three, four scholarships because I was able to, like what Anna said, I was able to reuse it and then tweak it a bit for each one because, the more you write, the more it's applicable to the rest of the scholarships you're applying for. And with balancing the other stuff that I had, like my environmental council, my athletics, my my competitive dance, my part-time jobs, um, I used a website that was able to track all my due dates, and it gave me notifications of when things were due, so I wasn't missing deadlines. And at work, I had little breaks, and during those breaks, I worked on my assignments or any outstanding work I had in school. And yeah, and so same with dance. I danced 14 hours a week, and in those little breaks I had between dance, I did my schoolwork.
Yeah, I hear that method a lot from students, and I've only ever heard good things about the spreadsheet method. That's also something, these skills applying to scholarships, applying to, all the other things are gonna carry with you through the rest of your life. So I think that you should use this time in high school when you're learning how to learn and learning how to prioritize and how to manage your time. Um, it's only going to benefit you to find ways that work for you. Me personally, I'm a super visual, tactile person. I have to write something down physically. I have to see it. So I used to use whiteboards in college for everything. I had whiteboards all over the place, and that might be a little too chaotic for some people, but for me, unless like I'm physically writing something down, it's going to leave my brain. So it's different for everybody. So experiment and try to find something that works for you. Some people like physical planners. Some people have apps on their phone, like Google Calendar alerts, things like that. There's tons of resources. Um, and chances are that those same skills are going to roll over into college to when you're keeping up with your finals and your assignments and you have all these different classes. And that was a learning curve for me when I started college was how to organize because your professors aren't communicating with each other and they don't plan finals around each other. You're responsible for figuring it out, same way that scholarship and college applications and all of those things are. So yeah, just keep trying. Practice makes perfect, and you'll figure it. And by the time you're junior, senior, freshman in college, you'll have it down, and it won't be as stressful for you, hopefully. Someone asks if you can give more details about the website you use to track the scholarships and deadlines. Maybe you want to drop it in the chat, Danielle, whatever that website was that you were using, if you remember.
So I was actually registered with Grant Me. And so where it's a program where they also help you, you know, track your scholarships and give you advice. It's, hold on, I'm not sure how to type in the chat. It's just called Grantme. It was a program you kind of had to pay for, but you could always just use Anna's method of with the Google spreadsheets. That I feel like that's the best option if you don't have any money. There's also a good website called myhomework.com. That one is what I use to track my school deadlines. You could also use that for your scholarships as well. Um, yeah, I don't know how to type in the chat. If
I got it. Don't worry. Go ahead. Anna, anything you want to add?
I was just going to add that there is a way, I don't have it rigged up personally, I just check it a lot, but there is a way to program your Google Sheets on an app on your phone to notify you of deadlines. But you might have to watch a YouTube tutorial on how to do it. It might be a little bit complicated, but you can learn a new skill and it'll help you out.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Alrighty. As we kind of wrap things up, this is my favorite question to ask at the end of every single panel because I think it's super relevant. What are some mistakes that you made along the way? And, what did you mess up when you were applying to something? Did you ever turn something in? You go, oh, I could have done that better. And what did you learn from it? And how did you apply it maybe the next time? Anybody else? Anyone want to start?
So I can definitely say that some mistakes that I've made are really like within my application. I wouldn't say there's really any mistakes you could make, but there are definitely things that you can learn from. So when your application does come back and you didn't get like quite what you wanted or you didn't earn the scholarship, it's good to take that as an experience, like a learning opportunity, because I wouldn't consider that a mistake because you didn't know you were going to make that mistake going into it. So being able to learn from your past experience and putting that into a new experience and writing your new application for something else can definitely help you, and kind of just understanding where you think you would have went wrong, even though I don't really think there is a way to go wrong.
Awesome. Thank you. Anybody else want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I also agree with Zach. I've applied to so many scholarships, and out of, so many, you might only land one, and that's okay because by not landing each scholarship, you learn and you get to review it and see where you can make changes. And then for the next time you submit it, if you make those changes and you get them, that means that that's what you had to change and that's what you learned from, you know, submitting it again or not being able to land one.
Awesome. Anna, anything to add to that as we wrap up?
So my advice, as far as what I've made a mistake on and what I would tell my friends and peers to adapt for, it's really a two-hander. Number one, I'd say oftentimes this doesn't directly apply to me specifically, but I have a lot of friends who've dealt with this. I know it can be really frustrating if you've been in a club for a long time with tons of members and you think, "Hey, I've done so well in this." There's a lot of competition for the leadership roles in those clubs. For example, we had a massive HOSA chapter. We have a massive HOSA chapter at my high school, and everybody wanted to be HOSA president. But you have to remember that there's leadership beyond just your school. I think it's very, very important not to get too hung up on the prestige and just do what feels right for you and what you actually would enjoy, because in the end, that'll give you the most fulfillment anyway. And then the second piece of advice is when you're asking, I should have mentioned this earlier, by the way, I'm so sorry. When you're asking for letters of rec, make sure that you're very, very, very personal with it and fulfill deadlines. Ask for letters of rec for someone that knows you well enough to write you a good letter of recommendation and submit it on time.
Thank you guys so much. I'm just gonna go over kind of the common mistakes that I see that I think are super avoidable that you like is just not a reason why you shouldn't win a scholarship. Number one, just being follow the directions. Like that sounds silly, but if there's a word count, follow it. If there's a deadline, follow it. If there's a guide for, what they're expecting as far as formatting, file size, like all of the little technical things, don't let that be the reason that you don't get an opportunity because you're not paying attention to the details. Have someone proofread your essay, grammar, super important. Um, if you had an internship at NASA, but you have horrible grammar in your scholarship essay, it's not going to read well and you probably won't win it. Like that's a really silly reason to not win something because you're not paying attention to those details because all of you guys are perfectly capable of being able to proofread your essays, having somebody else read them, all of those things. So just don't let the silly things get in the way. You'll be able to focus on the more important parts once you get those little mechanics done. Set yourself up for success, pay attention to the deadlines, find a system that works for you, ask for help. Don't let pride or anything like that get in the way. Um, yeah, just I think that when you learn that not winning something is not a failure. There's no such thing as a failure when it comes to things like this. You just have to try as many times as you can. At a certain point, it kind of is a numbers game sometimes, and you never really know what's going to happen. So I think the worst mistake that you can make is just not trying at all. So that's my final piece of advice as someone in the field. Does anybody else have anything, any last thoughts they want to share before we wrap up? Any final words of wisdom? All good.
I had one piece of advice I was really hoping to share, but there was never a question that was just perfect for answering it. This is a little bit random, but I definitely recommend it to anyone trying to give themselves an opportunity to spend more time in their day looking for scholarships if you're having trouble setting aside that time. Okay, everyone, we're Gen Z. We all know we like to sit around for hours scrolling on YouTube, scrolling on Instagram, scrolling on TikTok. It's as simple as training your algorithm. Go to your algorithm settings, type scholarship opportunities for high school students, and all of a sudden, you're going to start seeing nonstop local to you based on your location scholarship opportunities. And most of them have almost no applications. Take a screenshot, save them, update your spreadsheet, and go apply to those because oftentimes they are the perfect ones for you. I don't know how Instagram does it, but it does. Trust me, guys. Replace your scroll time with screen time and let it help you find scholarship.
That is absolutely fabulous advice. I love that. Train your algorithm. You're doing it anyway. You might as well, right? Worst case scenario, you see something funny and then you see something helpful right after it. Love that. I love that piece of advice. Well, thank you guys so much for all of your wonderful words of wisdom. I always learn things every time that I do this from students. I learn new perspectives all the time, and I know that all of our attendees, parents, students also learn things from you. So thank you so much. Thank you guys for listening and taking the time out of your day to help yourselves. And you're one step closer to success because you're open to learning and you're open to trying new things. So I appreciate that. And everyone have a great rest of your evening. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you so much.